LOTRO has always taken a beating for its graphics, that we know, but there is one major thing among many that it does get very, very right, and that is the landscapes and the world design. In many games, the landscapes, they just feel like a tick box exercise, you know, like it's tacked on after other such developments like the story and side quests. You know the theme here, put trees here because we have to, put a waterfall here because it feels right even though it's not actually connected to anything. Maybe even a sprinkle of god rays or a lens flare because, you know, we're woke now and that's what we do. However, LOTRO has one huge advantage here. The world and landscape already existed before the game was even made, and Turbine and SSG just simply had to finesse it and shape the world, the beautiful workings of Tolkien, and oh my god, did they do just that. Where there are, of course, obvious pitfalls with the graphics due to age and limitations, the grand scale and accuracy of the landscapes is truly mesmerizing. The ability to make a digital and playable representation of a thoroughly loved world built by someone else's imagination is a merit in itself, but to honestly make that feel believable, immersive, and alive is just another feat in itself. For example, the town of Bree is one of the first major settlements you'll set your eyes on in LOTRO, and I'm glad it is because it's iconic. Now, if SSG hadn't have studied Tolkien's workings as well as they did, this would just feel like another settlement, you know, on the way to your next quest or something that you've just passed that you'll never ever remember. Instead, there are so many things that are so intricately woven into these areas. For example, the stabled horses that you see at the top of the hill when you first approach the prancing pony, or the swinging sign for the tavern just beckoning you inside. And if you go inside, you'll be looking at a beaming golden aura coming from the fireplace, which just invites you in to rest with your kinship after a long day of traveling or questing. And you can listen to the local bard play songs about heroes and legendary rings, and there's just so much that brings everything together. These little individual details form one major overarching theme that really creates an experience, and that's truthfully what the landscape of Lord of the Rings Online is. It's not so much a landscape, but more so an experience. In fact, the thought put into these landscapes goes deeper than I could ever have imagined to begin with. Many games that I know of that have got inns or taverns, you can access sort of one area and maybe a couple of rooms, but many of these areas in Lord of the Rings Online are fully fleshed out, allowing you to visit most individual rooms. In fact, individual rooms of some of the main protagonists of the books, of the films, such as Strider, such as Gandalf. And it doesn't just teleport you to these instances. It allows you to walk, to touch, to feel, and I almost in many ways wish you could smell these areas, as crazy as that sounds, because that's what it allows you to create. This is your journey. It's just giving you a toolkit to make and craft your own journey. Out in the world, as you're going about your own tasks, so are many of the game's NPCs. You've got people from all different walks of life doing all different things, such as this woman who's had her farm set on fire and she's not particularly happy about it, so she's giving these fellows, well, what for? Or you've got these poor fellows that have got their head stuck in some stocks, and from this angle it reminds me that I've seen way too many videos on the internet. The guards that you pass have been on watch for hours and they look genuinely tired. You've got new hopeless recruits being trained around the city that haven't got a hope in hell. This world is very much alive, and it really, really shows. This even shows in some of the less man-made territory. When you start to get into the likes of Angmar, for example, this place is absolutely decrepit. It's hopeless, it's terrifying, but yet there are many caverns, many entrances, and many areas that have got such a homely feel about them. These are moments of respite, moments of beauty, which you can actually step back in amongst some of the worst areas and most terrifying areas of the game and go, wow, like, this is really, really nice. And if you take into account some of the areas that aren't so nice, a lot of the factors that build into this is the scale of the world around you. Lord of the Rings Online does a fantastic job of making you feel about this big. There are quite clearly so many things that are worse and more powerful you, and makes you feel so lonely and lost and vulnerable. And you pair that up with a fantastic color palette that changes, a skybox that changes, and you've also got the percussion techniques that they use to build all these different atmospheres. It's a recipe for success. In fact, if you think about it, Middle-earth actually houses some of the deepest, darkest, foulest beings ever known to man, and it's imperative actually that you don't feel like a giant in this world. It would lose all of its credibility and it just wouldn't feel tangible and real. I guess the easiest way to probably describe this is that the landscaping almost feels like a journey within a journey. You're journeying through your book quests, through your landscape quests, and the landscape around you there are so many areas of it that just beckon you over to check this out and have a look at these areas and investigate these rocks, and there's just so much going on. As we move from the topic of the depths of darkness of Angmar into a more light topic, I feel like the epitome of world building in LOTRO has got to be Rivendell. This area is a shining beacon for what can be and what has been achieved with the resources and the technology that SSG and Turbine and anyone else that worked on this project had to use. I don't know about you, but for me personally, I was gobsmacked when I saw the pouring waterfalls and the auburn-coloured trees that sort of line the mountains with the winding pathways. The task of trying to portray the home of an immortal and perfect race is actually mind-boggling, but yet they pull it off, and they pull it off so well. The sheer divineness that they've compacted into this area is nailed to a T, even down to the very last book in Elrond's library. To me, before I even visited Rivendell in LOTRO, I wanted my first experience to feel the way I felt watching the movies. And I know that sounds crazy because that is such a vast difference, but I'm so glad to say that, in my honest opinion, I think I felt more visiting it in Lord of the Rings Online because I had a projection of myself. I was living that experience through my digital character, and it meant so much more to me. I guess I want this video to almost pay homage to the fantastic work that SSG puts out and it continues to put out for a game that is so near and dear to my heart and other people's hearts as well, and honestly a game that I can't see me or other people ever putting down. Thank you for creating a world that only my childhood wildest dreams could imagine of existing in, and genuinely this video is to you. And thank you to everyone in the community that has commented, liked, subscribed, given me any sort of feedback whatsoever. I am so at peace with what we've done here, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.